If you ever tried stitching two pieces knit and garter stitch, then you probably know that most seams don't look on garter stitch as good as they look on stockinette or most other stitch patterns. Garter stitch is special. But there is a seam that is perfect for garter stitch. It looks the same on both sides, so it's fully reversible, and it does not create any ridge at all, so it's completely flat. I can't say the seam is invisible because it's not. You can still see on the fabric what the seam happened, but on the other hand, it creates a really nice patterning that looks a lot like a pine tree to me. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to make it. First, align two pieces side by side. It doesn't really matter whether it's right side or wrong side because this seam looks the same on both sides, so just pick the side that you like and that would be enough. But what really matters is that the cast on edge is at the bottom because we'll start working from here and then work all the way up to the bind of edge. Now that the pieces are aligned, before we start seaming, let's take a look at the strand that we are looking for, the bump that we're gonna seam actually one to another. And if you look at the very edge of the piece, then you will see that at the very edge we have, you know what, I'll grab a needle to show you better. At the very edge we have a bottom bar of the last stitch, then we have a top bar of the last stitch right next to it. That's it. We don't need either of them, so none of them will be seamed. But we are looking for the little strand that is on top of the top bar, so it's above the top bar, and it's right here, and it's the actual bump that is at the very edge. This strand appears when we turn the work to make the next row, and that's the strand we are looking for. So once again, it's not the bottom bar, it's not the top bar of the last stitch, it's the strand that is above the top bar of the last stitch. That's how it looks on the piece on the right, and here's how it looks on the other piece. So that's the bottom bar, that's the top bar, and that's this strand. On this piece, on this edge, it's more visible, but it is the same strand, and that's the strand we need. Now that we understand what we are looking for, we are ready to start seaming. So thread the yarn into a wool needle. Of course, it's best if you leave a long tail and you seam with the tail, but that's a lot of planning and we rarely do that. So we'll assume that you do it with just a piece of yarn. I'll be doing it with a contrasting color so you can better see what's going on, but of course it's better to use the same color that you used for the project. Before we start seaming, let's attach the yarn first, and we'll attach it to the cast on edge. Take the piece on the left and go at the very edge, at the seam that is at the very edge of this piece, pull it through and leave a small tail, just big enough to weave it in later on. Then take the piece on the right and do the same. Go from the bottom up into the stitch that is at the very corner of this piece. I usually go from the left piece to the right piece because I like that when the yarn comes out at the right, so I feel that it's more comfortable for me. But of course it's very minor issue, so you can do whatever you please. And then make another seam. You can do it in the same 8-digit manner, or you can just stitch it like this. Make another stitch, to secure the yarn, and then pull it, and here we go, the yarn is attached. And now we're just gonna look at those bars, at those the strand, let's call it, that special strand. Let's look at that. So first we'll do it on the piece on the right. So we'll be working right, left, right, left, right, left, and so on. The first ridge, find the first ridge, that's easy. Then again, if you're not sure, find the bottom bar of the last stitch, the top bar on the last stitch, and then find that strand and go from the bottom up, go under that strand like this and pull it through. Then do the same on the piece on the left. So we find the first ridge, the bottom bar, the top bar, and then this magic strand that we go under, and we do it again bottom up and pull the yarn through. That's it. Then pull the yarn some more, but don't pull it too tight because this seam is not flexible, so it doesn't stretch. And it's important to leave enough yarn in there so that the fabric is not really jammed like that. So that's no good. So pull the seam down so that it has enough yarn in there. And just go on. Find the next ridge. Again, bottom bar, top bar, and that magic strand. Of course, you don't have to keep track of bottom bar and top bar every time. I'm just repeating that because I find it's easier to find that magic strand this way. So here it is, and we go under that strand and pull the yarn. Then find the strand again, pull the yarn, and then again on the piece on the left. When you get into the rhythm of seaming and you clearly see where those strands are, you will, after you make a few stitches, you will have it all figured out. Then you can do the seam in one shot. So you can go under this strand and then under this strand in same stitch. And that will save you time, and that will also save you some muscle work because you don't have to pull the yarn every time. So you go and same shot here and there. And then every now and then stop and kind of look at the seam. If you feel that it's too jammed, then just release some more yarn in there. Or if you feel it's kind of too puffy and then it's too long, it's longer than the fabric itself, then pull the yarn a bit to adjust the way the seam looks. And then keep going. I'll work a few more stitches because I want to show you how to finish the seam. It's nothing really special, but just in case you need that information, I'll show it to you in a minute. And here's the last stitch on this side and the last stitch on that side. Here we go. Once again, check the seam that it looks nice and adjust it if necessary. And then simply make a few stitches, 1 or 2 is enough, to join the bind off edge, just like this. Then secure the yarn, go under the strand and then into that loop, pull it tight, and here we go. You might weave in and right away because you already have it in the wool needle, but it's up to you. So I'll leave it as it is. And now let's take a look at the seam. So as you see, it looks exactly the same on both sides, like totally identical. And if you look this way, well, when you do it, you will of course feel it with your fingers, but because you can't feel whatever I'm doing, so I'm gonna show you this way. See, it's completely flat. There is no ridge, no bulk, nothing. It's completely flat. So it's perfect, absolutely perfect for reversible projects like blankets, for example, or if you're making a reversible sweater or whatever else you are making. Because I use the contrasting color yarn, you can see it showing through, but if you use the same color, of course, it will be all hidden. And like I said, it's not really invisible. You see that the ridges are kind of flowing one into the other, but before they flow, there is this patterning of that looks like a pine tree. That's the one I mentioned before. And that's how the seam looks, and that's how it looks on if seamed with the same color. So see, it's pretty lovely. It's a nice way to seam garter stitch, and I hope it helps you to make your projects nicer and neater. And now that you know a perfect way to seam 2 pieces knit in garter stitch, your blankets, hats, sweaters, and other projects made in garter stitch will look so much better. Thank you for watching this video and have a wonderful week. I'll see you next Thursday.